Welcome one, welcome all to the NFC East mixtape, volume 76, I believe, if I have counted correctly. My name is Ochoa. His name is Brandon Lee Gowton. I'm speaking fast because I'm heavily caffeinated. We are recording this on a Tuesday coming off of a Monday Night Football victory for the Dallas Cowboys over the New York Giants. Lots of NFC East stuff to talk about. That's what this show is, the NFC East mixtape. You can listen to it on any of the 4 NFC East podcast networks at SB Nation, Blogging the Boys for Dallas Cowboys content, Hogs Haven for Washington Commanders, Big Blue View for New York Giants, or Bleeding Green Nation for the currently first place Philadelphia Eagles. You can also watch it on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel or the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. You can tweet or Instagram either of us. He is at Brandon Gowton on both platforms. I am at RJ Ochoa on both platforms. BLG, life is good. I am so happy. I am thrilled. I am ecstatic. I am talking very, very fast. As you know, when you come off of a Monday Night Football game, you either have to kill or be killed, and that's what I'm trying to do right now from a content standpoint.
What time did you go to bed last night?
I laid down at like 1:45.
Wow.
But I don't know if you're like me. Like I can't just like lay down and go to sleep. Like I have to play on the phone for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like kind of wind yourself down,
sure.
Browse a few different
decompress,
things.
if you will.
Right, exactly. So I probably fell asleep about 2:05, 2:10, something like that. Up and at 'em, 6 a.m. Kids crying. You know, gotta put the coffee pot on. Gotta take the dog for his mile walk. I'm out here crushing it. I got a carbonated water in my hand. I mean, the whole world's in front of me. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Let's do it again. Let's do it again tonight.
No, let's not do that again tonight. And I'm sure you'd be feeling differently once that actually got to that point. But a little trivia question for you, RJ, at the top of the show.
Okay.
Which NFL team is undefeated? The only one in the NFC.
That would be the Eagles of Philadelphia, formerly the Steagles, formerly one half of the Steagles.
Somehow this has not dampered your optimism. Because the Eagles look pretty good, RJ.
They do. Look, let me be very clear. We're going to run through everything. We have a new, I wouldn't say segment, but a new game that we're going to introduce. Brandon's a little bit under the weather, so he's powering through. So Brandon gets an early MVP vote here on the mixtape. I'm excited. I have no idea what this season has in store for the Cowboys. They've won 2 games in a row. I have some qualms with what they've done. I've been happily surprised and happily proven wrong through this particular tiny little 2-game run. My biggest source of joy comes from the idea that after week 1, it felt like, well, we just have to crawl through 4 months of sludge. You know what I mean? And so that is not true. That's the truly exciting thing. Bring on the fall. Bring on the baked ribs. I tweeted this out, and we can. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite things to make in the fall is baked. Okay. Like you bake them in the oven.
You said that like it's like a normal thing that everyone does.
It's really nice. It warms the house up. It's like a cool meal. I really enjoy.
Bring on the fall. Bring on pumpkins and haunted hay rides and baked ribs.
2 things on the subject of food. I promised the Blogging the Boys audience that should the Cowboys win their 3rd game in a row, which is against the Washington Commanders, that I will eat half of a cheesecake during our post-game show. So we'll see about that. Cheesecake, something we've talked about many times. And I tweeted this out early on Tuesday before we started recording. I've been proven wrong on some things. We can talk about them. And in the spirit of like acknowledging things that I've been wrong about, and I think we should all do this in life. You do a great job of kind of like, hey, you know, what are some potholes in my line of logic with this, that, or the other? I said to myself, you know what, RJ? You've never really given sour cream a fair shake. You know what I mean? You get your baked potatoes with just butter. Let's try it. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. You know what I mean? Maybe sour cream sucks, but I like sour cream dip. You know what I mean? So I have to imagine. What do you mean? It's hard to mess up a baked potato. Well, like ranch onion dip. You know, like you get some chips. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's basically sour cream with like ranch powder. And so I like that a lot. And I like it with potato chips. So I have to imagine I would like it with a potato. So that's something I'm going to do at some point soon is eat a baked potato with sour cream. Shout out to the Cowboys for inspiring me.
All right, let us all know how that goes. You've kind of downplayed the temperature contrast that I brought up before with various things, that included. But I think that's nice too. You need something to cool it down. The hot baked potatoes are like freaking so hot. Like when you pull them out, you cut them open. They're like, there's a lot of steam coming out of that bad boy. You need something to cool it down a little bit too.
Do you eat the skin?
Sometimes it depends how hungry I am.
Right. Good point. Okay. Well, let's get through the recap, which is much shorter this week because we only had 2 games between the 4 teams, and we'll get to a little bit of the preview. We've got a big time, another revenge game on the docket for the first place Philadelphia Eagles. That is where we start. The EAGLES Eagles, who have scored fewer second half points this season than the Dallas Cowboys. No big deal.
Wow, what a framing. What a delusional framing.
Victorious on Sunday against the Commanders, 24-8. Talking about like specific quarter scoring, 24 points for the Eagles in the second quarter, 8 in the final for the Commanders. Kind of a pity garbage time thing. I'm not at all shocked anymore by the Eagles. I don't know that anybody can be. I do think the Cowboys are going to be more of a competitor. We'll see how this all shakes out. But I think the Eagles are the clear favorite right now. They look like the best team. They look like the best team in the NFL right now. We both do power rankings at Bleeding Green Nation and Blogging the Boys. They were my number 1 team. I haven't had a chance to read yours yet. I presume they were for you as well. It's hard. It's hard to find holes, especially it's like I tweeted this out. It's such low hanging fruit. AJ Brown reminds me so much of Terrell Owens, and I know we both love T.O.
Wow, the first person to make this comparison.
I mean, like, I'm sorry, but it's like I just want just add me to the like never ending list. And Devonte Smith shows up like that. This was, I guess, what maybe every Eagles fan was waiting for, right? Like waiting for that shoe to drop, waiting for to kind of get the Robin to this Batman, or however you want to look at it.
No Robins here. Only 3 Batmans. RJ,
you get my point.
Following Eagles news very closely.
And my last point on this, and I'm curious for your thoughts on the game, is I really expected more, and I know you'll roll your eyes from Carson Wentz and really from the Washington offense. I didn't expect them to be like this flat. Like this was really, really bad. We had seen some signs of life in the first 2 weeks of the season, but maybe they really, truly are just kind of stinky.
I'll get into the Wentz of it all and the Commanders, I guess, when we get to them, which is dead last in the division all of a sudden. But for the Eagles, speaking of things we were wrong about, both you and I, but especially me more so, considering I cover them more daily, Jalen Hurts. I am very impressed with how he's played. I did not think I was going to see a night and day difference because I don't think we really saw a ton of evidence in that in training camp. Not that he had a bad training camp, but didn't have one that would make me think he was actually going to have like a Josh Allen kind of leap. Like whenever that comparison was made this offseason, I'm like, that's not a great comparison to me. And I feel like I had valid reasons why I didn't believe that. Like I didn't think it was apples to apples as many people did, but clearly I like underrated the value of him being such a grinder that he is, and his just like obsession with getting better. And really kind of it's really interesting to bring up all this in the contrast of Carson Wentz, because those were like pitfalls and shortcomings for him, and be amenable to coaching, all of that, like all those things about Jalen Hurts. I always believed in those. I just wondered if the talent was enough, but clearly it is, because he looks great out there. I really liked how he was giving his receivers chances to make plays on the ball against the Commanders. That is something, again, to contrast it to Wentz, that Wentz never really did. Like he was not a good jump ball kind of guy. So for Hurts to do that, and then actually have the receivers in Devonte Smith, he's a wide receiver 1. And so is AJ. They're both wide receiver kind of 1 caliber players, especially the way they're playing right now. And it's a scary offense when you have that, when you have Devonte Smith and AJ Brown, because guess what? Like Quez Watkins is a decent third guy. Dallas Goedert's one of the better tight ends in the NFL. Like, there's no shortage of weapons here. And for all the success that Jalen Hurts has had and the credit he deserves, we're talking about an MVP kind of candidate here. A lot of those throws, he's getting plenty of time to pass the ball. Like this offensive line and pass protection especially is still as good as they come. So they're a force.
Jalen has been really impressive. I mean, this is so stupid, but like if you had to award the MVP after like at this point of the season, it's between him and Lamar Jackson. I said that on the SB Nation NFL show on Monday. He's been exemplary. And to your point, everyone who's touched the ball has been, like playing, I feel like above expectation, at least for someone like you, right? You're really rational and fair, I think, when it comes to your Eagles analysis. Miles Sanders, hey, shout out to me. I always believed in Miles Sanders. You thought he was overrated. You thought, oh my gosh, how dare you petition for Miles Sanders to be one of the most underrated players of the NFC East, blah, 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 blah. Whatever,
well,
this is my victory.
I have a thing on that I could really bring up if you wanted me to. He's like ranks like lowest in the NFL in
but he works for them.
Expected.
like it works in synchronization with what they're trying to do. And I don't mean to
Well, the run game was like uncharacteristically bad against Washington, which is interesting because they had a really bad run defense. So that was like the one thing I could actually nitpick in the specific performance. But to your larger point, yes, the run game, I'm not like worried about it. It'll be a big boon for this team.
I normally think this kind of stuff is lame, but there was a story, I'm sure every Eagles fan saw it, that Nick Sirianni showed there was the Kobe clip that came out from the Redeem Team documentary that's going to be coming out in a month about how he didn't care about Pau Gasol, in the Olympics. It was super awesome story, super classic Kobe Mamba mentality thing. And I normally think that stuff is lame. However, I love that Nick Sirianni, my guy, said this is really topical right now. Kobe's a Philly guy. You know what I mean? Like, let's tie this all. And Carson, like, I don't know what the message was. Maybe the message, there are players who won a Super Bowl technically with Carson Wentz, right? Hey, Jason Kelsey, I know that's your dude, but like right now, let's go destroy him. And they did. Like I Fletcher Cox, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like I think that's really cool. I think that the Eagles had their way with Carson Wentz. They have proved at every opportunity that they made the right decision. There's no more. Like I do think the Colts are probably wondering, man, did we mess up trading away Carson Wentz? I don't think there's any doubt like that within the Eagles organization.
No, not at all. And I just want to say, like, it's really nice to be an Eagles fan right now in terms of like they're 3-0.
The vibes are good.
Team in the NFC, the vibes are good. You have a quarterback who's 24 years old, who's playing like MVP of the league. You have a defense that's like has improved since week 1. They gave up just 13 total points in their last 2 games. You have a first round pick from the Saints next year. So not even like is the present bright.
And they're getting worse. Like they're only getting worse as the season rolls on.
I mean, again, if the Falcons weren't like all-time chokers and blew a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, Saints are 0-3 right now, and they're one of the only 2 0-3 teams in the NFL. Like, that'd be crazy for the Eagles to be eyeing up that like everything is going right. and again, the players they're succeeding with aren't just like older vets too. Obviously, there's Jason Kelsey. Right. There's some older guys in the mix, but like AJ Brown is 25. Devonte Smith is whatever, like 24. Like these are like young guys who are going to be here. These are core. This is a core. This isn't just like, okay, we pushed all our chips in and it's this year or bust. Like, no, this is like a team on the rise that is also arguably the best team in the NFL. It's like, it's pinch yourself. It's almost too good to be true. It's just like, yeah, they're amazing. And it's also really weird because last thing I'll say on this is that heading into the season, it's always, well, whenever you expect the Eagles to be good, they're bad. No, like everyone expected them to be this good, and they are this good, if not better.
I will say, so we toyed around with, instead of like reviewing the games, doing like one good and one bad take or opinion or whatever vibe on every team. And my and maybe Eagles fans are already considering this. Like before the season, there were all these Eagles fans who were so used to the like misery, right? Like, no, stop talking about this. No, I'm gonna pretend the Eagles are gonna be bad because they're only good when I think they're bad. Blah blah blah. I think it's like this is a lame sports talk question, but like, are they peaking too early? Right? Like are the good times here too soon? We've seen that happen a lot. I mean,
well, on that point though, RJ, like you look at their schedule and it's like, yeah, right. They could go 10-0. Their schedule's easy. They have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL.
They could, and to be very clear, they are currently playing like the best team in the NFL. But I would say that they're probably the least challenged by injury and by weird stuff in the NFL right now. Like I think the Bills are in contention to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Their secondary was wiped out by and not that Miami took like complete advantage of that, but that was obviously an issue for them. And so we haven't seen Philly had to deal with that. They've been very fortunate, and you could argue they've safeguarded against those, would-be hurdles that they're likely going to face throughout the season. Those things aren't guarantees, but they are probable. And you don't want players to get hurt, but it's the NFL. Like you have to assume that something like that is going to happen. And so I'm interested to see how this Eagles team handles adversity. They seem very, very well equipped for it. But you do wonder if the vibes and everything is going so well so soon. And I think something that's very interesting to note, and something that would maybe if I were you, just because it's been like, I don't think that it's fair for people to be like, well, this is who Hurts has always been. No. There has been a growth and an evolution, and credit to him for that. But it's always in the back of your mind, like, is he going to regress to that? And we've talked so much as like an NFL world. Okay, Lamar's going to get paid. The Ravens look so stupid. Lamar's going to get paid in the offseason. What about Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is going to be eligible for a new deal in the offseason. And if you're Jalen Hurts, how can you not, I don't want to say like hold out, but how can you not demand it after you put together what this season is looking like it's going to be for him?
Well, to the point of like not everyone just saw this easily coming with Jalen Hurts. I mean, the Eagles didn't. They They were interested in Russell Wilson. They were interested in Deshaun Watson. Those guys didn't want to come here, and it worked out, for them that they didn't. But it wasn't even like they were like, you know what? We love Jalen Hurts so much, and we know he's going to take this huge leap that we're not even going to be interested in those guys at all. That's not the case. But when it comes to like the weaknesses of this team, it's things like what you're talking about that you can kind of nitpick, or like they're good. They're champagne problems. They're like,
Right.
Is this team really good too soon? Or, why isn't the team, totally blowing out the opponent in the second half? It's like, those are good problems to have. Imagine being like, the Raiders right now, or even the Commanders, and feeling like, yeah, we would love to have that problem right now. Are you kidding me? So I definitely don't think there's anything too big right now. I will say one of my biggest things with Hurts was like, I need to see him go up against an elite quarterback on the other side of the field. I know it's not playing him directly one-on-one, but like I need him to go into a matchup against Josh Allen or Brady or whatever, like some one of these guys, and like look like the better quarterback and lead the team to victory. And I still need to see that, but like I feel a lot better about that than I used to, because he's playing at a high level. If we're talking about like biggest takeaway, biggest strength, it's Jalen Hurts right now. He is the straw that stirs the drink.
I would say I agree with that. I would say that for me, I probably grade the Vikings win more highly than a lot of people, not just Eagles fans. I mean, my love for the Vikings and for Kirk the player are well known. But other than that, I kind of feel like the Eagles have done what they're supposed to do, and that's not their fault, right? Like you end up in these like cyclical arguments, like, well, you can only play who's on your schedule type thing. Okay, like respect. You've answered the few challenges that this young season has presented, and next one is Doug Pederson, right? Like you slayed Carson Wentz. Not that anybody thought he was going to beat you, but you took care of that narrative. Now Doug Pederson's up next. Let's see how this goes. I'm way more excited about this. Eagles Jaguars looking like an early candidate for game of the year. Who would have ever thought?
Jags are like second in DVOA. They're like up. I forget exactly where they are in point differential, but they're up there. They just blew out the Chargers. Now the Chargers were missing like Herbert was hurt, and like they're missing Keenan Allen and Corey Linsley, and like they're missing, and Rashawn Slater and Bosa. They're missing and JC Jackson. They're missing like basically everyone. But still, like to go out on the West Coast there and just dominate them, that's real. And like, hello, I'm wrong about Jalen Hurts. I can say that. I think I'm very right about Doug Pederson and that part of it all, because I was like, the Eagles scapegoated him, and it's like whatever, things have worked out for them, but it's still, I think, true that he was not as much to blame as people made him out to be, at least at the end of that 2020 season and going into all of that. I think Carson Wentz has clearly not aged well in that respect, but again, we'll get to him. Doug Pederson, like this is going to be a tough game, and honestly, maybe this is a weak take to you, but I love Doug. So, like, if the Eagles lose this game, am I going to feel good? No. But I'm not going to feel like happy about it, obviously. But like, I will feel good for Doug. And it's very rare that you're in a situation where your team goes up against another team and like you can feel good for them. I usually never feel that way. But if there's one person I can feel that way about, it's Doug, because he deserves it, and I think he's doing a good job already in Jacksonville. It's going to be a tough game. The Eagles opened as 7-point favorites.
Oh, no way. Sorry.
Which is like, that's so much. That's so much against a team that's like looking pretty. Trevor Lawrence is playing great right now. He's like 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions the past 2 weeks here. Like, I like the points in this game.
Well, you have taken the points against the Eagles every single week. Everybody can hear you and I together, along with Rob Statzger, every Friday on the SB Nation NFL show. We make our weekly picks. BLG, not a true believer in the Eagles, obviously. We'll get to the Jaguars part of this. I do want to just quickly slide this in because it is important. You mentioned the Jaguars, DVOA status.
Jaguars or Jaguars?
Jaguars. It is the London week, so we probably have to go, or one of the London weeks. So we got to go Jaguars. Plus the Premier League's back this week. So Jacksonville is second in total DVOA. Shout out to our friends at Football Outsiders. They are 5th in offensive DVOA. To your point, they are 4th in defensive DVOA, 17th in special teams, but second overall. Philly, 4th overall. The Cowboys, 6th overall. That's really interesting to me. We'll get to them in just a moment. But just so we're very clear on this, because it is the NFC East mixtapes, we got both the Eagles and Cowboys in the top 6. The New York Giants are 28th in overall DVOA. The Washington Commanders, have you seen them where they're at?
No.
They are 32nd in overall.
Wow.
DVOA.
That seems a little harsh. That doesn't seem right.
I think we do this sometimes. For anyone who doesn't know what DVOA is, again, go read Football Outsiders. They're tremendous. It's essentially a ranking of how well you fare against opponents that, with everything adjusted for opponents, because sometimes you play trash teams. That's probably the most like TLDR version of that you can come up with, but it's a way of measuring how good teams are based off of the quality of what they've done in games against the quality of the opponents that they have played. It's an interesting measurement. Obviously, there's a lot of data in the NFL world right now.
The Jags are second in point differential, by the way. Just under the Bills, and just
well, they
ahead of
just
the Eagles.
blew out. They had the luxury of blowing out the Chargers,
Yeah.
the Colts. Excuse me. I mean, like, so that's.
The Colts should just beat the Chiefs.
Well, thankfully, the Colts are on the schedule for the Cowboys and Eagles too. But okay, let's get to the Cowboys before our break. Monday Night Football. Can you give me a dun 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 dun
dun dun dun dun?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
By the way, I have really enjoyed Monday Night Football this year. It's felt like a better production to me. It's felt like more professional. I didn't need I don't know how much of this you saw, but they like overproduced like intro segments and stuff. Like, I don't need you to film Stephen A being like the Cow. I don't need any of it. Like, just get to the game. Like, seriously, you're wasting all of our time. But the Cowboys get their second win of the season, second in a row, get on the right side of 500. Thanks to a 23-16 victory over the New York bad once again at football Giants. The biggest story out of New York on Monday, BLG, was Aaron Judge's continued chase of history. At one point, they had the like simulcast going on, and it's like Daniel Jones should not be on the same screen as Aaron Judge. Like, that's so unfair to the city of New York, even though it's not happening in New York. At halftime, the score was 6-3. And the Cowboys at that point in time had played 10 quarters on the season, and they had not scored a touchdown in 9 of them. But they rectified that quickly in the third quarter. Just a huge second half after a little bit of a bumpy start. CeeDee Lamb had a terrible game in the first half and change, and then came alive. Everybody is looking at the one-handed catch with a touchdown, but it was the fourth and short conversion I thought that was so impressive by him. I've been so impressed with Cooper Rush. I thought the Cowboys just kind of were lazy about QB2. I thought Noah Brown was just them being lazy about not doing things. I thought not kicking Jason Peters out to left tackle was a bad idea and unfair to him and to Tyler Smith. And I think that some of those things are still true as far as the process of it all. But the results right now support the decision to do what they did, right? The Cowboys have the right to take the victory lap today. I'm going to put some sour cream on my baked potato. They look like a functional NFL team. And part of what my excitement is coming, sort of around that I talked about at the beginning is this Cowboys-Eagles game in a few weeks has some juice. And I know that every Eagles fan thinks there's this wide gap, and there might very well be. But this is at the very least going to be a game of significance from a record and standing standpoint. It didn't look that way 2 weeks ago. I think the Cowboys are clearly the second best team in the NFC East, which isn't necessarily saying a lot. But they're 2-1. And they have a lot of reinforcements coming back by way of Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup, Connor McGovern for offensive line depth, James Washington, if you think he offers anything. I thought Donovan Wilson was amazing. He was one of my stock-up players, but they still have Jaron Kearse coming back. I do think the arrow is pointing up for this team, and they've gotten 2 of their harder games out of the way in the Bucs and Bengals already.
Michael Gallup too, right? Next week.
Thanks for
listening. I didn't hear if you said you listed a lot of names there. I wasn't sure if you said him, but look, a big reason why I made the Cowboys my lock of the week pick, which I aced for the look ahead on the SB Nation NFL show.
So mad at whatever. Go ahead.
I picked it because why did I say it? Do you remember why? I said I was picking them, like a big reason why. Well, you don't.
Cooper Rush. I really don't recall. But that was like 10 podcasts ago for me. I really don't remember.
It's fine. But I'm just saying, speaking of people don't listen, that there's a big mismatch between the Cowboys' biggest strength, which I think is their pass rush, and what the Giants have up front of their offensive line. Sure enough, per Adam Schefter, Daniel Jones was pressured a total of 24 times on Monday night, the most by a quarterback this season, and the second most over the past 2 seasons. The Cowboys, officially on the stat sheet that I'm seeing by ESPN here, had 5 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. Like they were just able to get to Daniel Jones at will. I saw some people comparing Evan Neal to Winston Justice once upon a time, who just got destroyed by the Giants in an Eagles-Giants matchup. The Giants' offensive line was totally just outmatched by the Cowboys' pass rush, and it's legit. The Cowboys were tied for sacks in the NFL entering Monday Night Football, having only played 2 games with the Eagles, who had just had a 9-sack performance. So that really speaks to the pass rush that the Cowboys have going on. That's for real. I want to ask you, speaking of that Eagles-Cowboys matchup coming up, and that's very much like a box for Jalen Hurts to check still in terms of, I brought up the good quarterback thing. Well, not just that, but also his 2 games against the Cowboys. And one of them was at the tail end of a very bad 2020 season where the team was, garbage and injured and in disarray. Like whatever. But last year they got destroyed, obviously, when they played on Monday Night Football. So both of Jalen Hurts' starts against Dallas have been blowout losses so far, and that very much needs to change. I think there's a good chance it will. But like, what is really going on with Dak? Like, because apparently he's going to be back next week. Like, I don't buy that.
I don't think he's going to be back next week. And I thought,
because he said that, right? He said to Lisa Salters that he might.
So I actually thought we say this all the time because it's important in the world of podcasting. We record this on Tuesdays. It's 2:37 p.m. Central Time as I'm speaking on Tuesday, September 27th. Jerry Jones does weekly radio hits on 105 to the Fan on Tuesdays and Fridays. And I thought what he said on Tuesday was maybe some of the most honest and realistic, or one of the most honest and realistic things he said in a very long time. And it wasn't like negative. It was just not overly zealous. He noted Dak had the stitch removed. That was like well chronicled and discussed on Monday. And he noted that Dak could play a game on this Sunday, if he had to. However, it's a matter of him being able to grip and throw the ball.
Right. So you can't then.
No, but like I understood what his point was. Like his point was like he could physically get hit. You know what I'm saying? Like that they're not worried about.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
No, but like that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning of it, like his thumb was fractured. Like the thumb is healed. So he actually said we don't know that yet. So I get where they're like, I don't think they're playing both sides. I do think McCarthy put something into that. Like, well, we can't tell anybody what we're doing. We've got to be careful with the injury report because we don't want anybody to think this. Like he is a little bit like that. They teased all week that Michael Gallup was going to return on Monday night, and that didn't happen. So call that gamesmanship if you want. But I truly think the Cowboys don't know. And they don't know. They don't want Dak to rush himself. Miss me with the like Cooper Rush, whatever stuff. You know, we all know that's silly. That's the only bummer of this like good time is that like you got all whoa, I don't know, man. Cooper Rush, like just enough.
Sean McCoy last night tweeted out, and I quote tweeted it, you know, kind of stoked the flames a little bit here. What was it? Shady tweeted out, Jerry Jones was right. I think there's a new QB in Dallas.
Anyway, but I mean, Ian Rappaport noted, obviously you get the Sunday like news dumps from the National Insiders, like emptying out the weekly notebook. And Ian Rappaport noted that Dak could return week 6 against the Eagles at the earliest. So again, I think they're at this place where like he could play, like it could happen if it really had to, but it is a matter of like, you know, how much can you control? How much can you grip? How hard can you go? How much can you press? And the fact that they're winning right now means that they don't have to stretch this thing. They could lose to the Eagles and still win the NFC East, right? Like, I mean, we know the way this whole thing goes. They have the Commanders on Sunday afternoon. I mean, you talked about the sacks. PFF had them with 35 quarterback pressures on Monday night, 35, and they get to play Carson Wentz on Sunday. I mean, so like we're going to pick the games, but I think we both think the Cowboys are going to win that game. So if you're 3-1, I mean, we said this a week ago. We said, man, they bought themselves some time, and we kind of thought that was the end of the rope. So I think that they've earned the luxury of being patient with Dak. I think if they can get to that Eagles game, I think that's a huge victory. And if he comes back and he plays and he wins, obviously the narrative takes off and it's a wild story and it upsets Eagles fans all over the place. But I think they're seeing how it goes. They like you can't measure with any sort of scan or MRI or whatever X-ray what his grip strength is, right? Like you have to completely and totally trust Dak on that. And they obviously trust him, but he's also somebody who's going to push himself. And we've seen that in the past.
Also just the element too of him not looking great when he was healthy in week 1. Like, how do you like factor that into the decision here? And I mean, obviously he's the starter so far when he's healthy, but it's like how confident can you really be that it isn't going to bother him when he was struggling when he was healthy? You know what I'm getting at there? Like, it's just a weird layer.
I mean, but that's like, you have that question with every player. How confident are you that Michael Gallup's going to be 100% coming back from a torn ACL? You know what I mean? Like you trust him. You trust the player. You trust your medical staff and your medical evaluations.
Yeah, but it's like, this is directly impacting his ability to like do
you got to like watch him throw some passes. Like, you know what I mean? That's the whole like, you know, kit and caboodle here. I mean, so I don't think he's obviously not playing on Sunday against Washington, although they had kind of floated that out again in the last few weeks of silly talk on the radio. But that's why I thought Jerry was as reserved as he's been, you know, and as conservative as he's been in a realistic way, very uncharacteristic of Jerry Jones. He was kind of like, he was really taking a victory lap after they beat the Bengals. Jerry, for anyone who's unaware, in the Cowboys, you know, tunnel, after the Cowboys entered the locker room, the first person to emerge is Jerry. And Jerry goes and holds court with all the reporters on site, talks, gives updates, whatever. Then the locker opens. Then you go in, you talk to the players, you interview them, whatever. I'm serious. And so
I know, but it's it says a lot.
It does. But so last week after the win against the Bengals, Jerry comes out and says, all right, I want to hear your score predictions. You know, there was a lot of like rubbing people's faces in it. That wasn't the case this week. this really just kind of felt like a classic grinded out, get the win performance that they were proud of. I do think we haven't mentioned him yet. I do think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit. I mean, I understand that some people think he's just like the butt of the joke and he's the meme and he's terrible. He doesn't do anything, whatever. They want to attribute all the coaching credit to Dan Quinn. I mean, like, there's enough to go around. Like, this is really impressive. I mean, the Cowboys that I grew up watching, certainly the Jason Garrett Cowboys, they do not win these games. Like, and we've seen Mike be this way in Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, he's gone 7-7 without Dak Prescott. What a mark of achievement. But that is unheard of around here. I mean, everyone wrote them off 2 weeks ago. And since then, he has found a way to dig in and get it done. You can make an argument that, they beat some lower quality teams. I know the Bengals won last week, but we're all still kind of down on them. But I think that speaks to the NFL as a whole. Like, I mean, I think it was Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated tweeted this on Monday night, that he was having a conversation with somebody and that they said, yeah, I feel like there's only 3 good teams and everybody sucks right now. That's kind of the way it's true. Like, yeah, like, I mean, so
doing power rankings, I'm sure like okay, let's go through my top 3 just for the sake of this quick activity. Dolphins, good team, undefeated. Just beat the Bills in Buffalo, or no, sorry, in Miami. Still, Bills, really good, best point differential despite losing. Eagles, okay, and then after that, like, I have the Chiefs. They just lost to the Colts, and I have the Rams. Like, they haven't looked great. The Ravens, okay, but they blew that game to Miami. Like, after that, you don't feel like amazing about any of those other teams in the top 10.
I feel better about the Ravens than most people. I had them 3rd. I have Eagles, Bills, Ravens as my top 3. I still have the Chiefs 4 and the Dolphins 5. But, like, to your point, like, moving on, I have the Vikings 7. I'm really high on them, but you can poke holes in them, obviously, right? They're like, oh, they barely beat the Lions. The Packers. I actually dropped the Packers 2 spots, like, not on purpose, but I just couldn't rank them higher than anybody else because, I mean, like, how can you based off like their offense hasn't looked good at all. It's not just a matter of having a great performance, or a poor performance rather last week against Tampa. And so that's where, like, I think of, I know it sounds like a joke, like, oh, here come the Cowboys homers. They're all excited. The Cowboys are 2-1. The Packers are 2-1. And the Packers admittedly are still figuring out with Aaron Rodgers and without Devonte Adams. But, like, the Packers have the, like, nucleus of their roster that they're going to be playing with this season. Cowboys are still getting a lot of people back. And, that might not work out, but I think there is very strong reason for optimism for the Cowboys. I do think the arrow is pointing up, but yeah, I mean, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Niners, the Niners look so bad right now. Like, who's a better team right now? The Niners, like, rank these 3 teams for me, and then we'll take a break. The Niners, the Broncos, the Cowboys.
I will say, well, in my power rankings, I have the answer to that. I have the Broncos at 10, the Cowboys at 11.
Oh my gosh. How?
I know. I don't feel good about it, but, like, look, like, who else am I putting there? Like, a lot of these teams aren't good. So Broncos 10, Cowboys 11, and then I have the 49ers. I dropped them down to 14.
It's a very, very top heavy NFL right now. And I still don't know if I believe this in my own mind. But it could be like, I'm willing to entertain the, like, well, they're all kind of working through their own preseason, right? Because the starters don't play in the preseason. This is the ramp up period. Like, we're going to start to see things take off. I don't know that I, like, fully buy that, but I buy a little bit. I don't buy that the whole NFL just stinks now. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some explanation to justify why we're seeing everything that we're seeing across the league as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think while your optimism about the Cowboys is somewhat justified, again, kind of a big damper on top of the division potentially for you.
Okay, let's take a break, and then we're going to hand out an award for the first time that we're going to do every single week here on the mixtape, and then we'll get to our week 4 preview and discussion. Welcome back. While we were gone, Brandon went and answered the door, and he said that the person who rang the doorbell was speaking in a different language. What language was that, BLG?
We'll actually have the who was speaking at the door right here. I just have to take my headphones off real quick and get it. So you're gonna have to fill time for me. Okay.
I am very intrigued. I see. He's getting is this a stuffed Pikachu? Is a Pikachu in the background? I saw this on Instagram, by the way, over the weekend. You were at what looked like a bar holding this Pikachu on and again on what looked like the dance floor with the Pikachu.
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Oh, we had gone. So we'd gone to my friend's, like, kind of going away party. Zach we'd gone to Dave and Buster's, and because I'm really good at this one game where it's kind of like a Tetris thing, really hard to describe here, I guess, but you have to like hit a button to have it stop. And you need to keep stacking the tower on top of each other, but like, the thing moves fast, so you're trying to get it stop, so it's like lines up on that one, and then it goes again, and then stop again. So anyway, I'm really good at that, and I won a Pikachu, and then we went to that place on the way home. So I mean, what was I supposed to do? Like I just I was carrying it. I was like, so
yeah.
So that's
one New Year's Eve, I won a stuffed dog, and I made my friend Kyle carry it because I didn't want it. I was like, I'm gonna throw this away because it was like a carnival game.
Throw it away.
He was like, I'll take. I pay like $1 for the game.
Oh, okay.
And so he was like, and it was like one of those like darts balloon thing. And I happened to win. It was this big dog, and he was like, I'll take it. He carried around that whole New Year's Eve. An interesting question before we get to our award, but since you brought up the Pikachu, red version or blue version growing up?
I think I mainly played red, but I had both.
I mean, I had both too. Shout out to us and shout out to our families. But I was a red version purist.
Little Charizard on the front.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'm team red. Also, who's your starter?
We've talked about this before.
I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show.
So
we've got Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. This says a lot about people, and we're definitely interested in hearing some people's responses.
I definitely have told you before because you're gonna be like, oh, you like made fun of me for it. It's obviously Bulbasaur.
You were like that's what's proven to be the most like effective starter for the game. That's stupid. Yeah, that's really
right.
Dumb. He's on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon Gowton. Please tell him how stupid that is. Charmander, the best starter. Everybody knows that. Okay, so we actually have 2 awards. I told you about one of them, but I have made another one up that I didn't want to tell you until we got here. So the first award, and every week we would like people to tweet us their suggestions for who should win this. This is the non-NFC East NFC East award. So whoever around the NFL that is not a part of the NFC East that acted the most like a member of the NFC East. It can be a team, it can be a player, it can be a coach, it can be an offensive coordinator smashing his tablet on the camera like Ken Dorsey. It can be anybody, but we're every week going to shout out somebody who isn't in the division and give them the non-NFC East NFC East award of the week. Do you have any contenders on your
No, I told you I didn't.
Well, that means I single-handedly get to award the award out. The NFC East has been full of a lot of people, a lot of them obviously part of the Cowboys, who have massively disappointed and been jokes in some ways, again, across the division. Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley. Miss me with all, like, fine, you want to hype up Justin Herbert? Go crazy. Like, he's amazing. His arm's amazing. Go off, Justin Herbert. But Brandon Staley had an all-time choke job against the Jaguars. And took no accountability for it. Oh yeah, Justin wanted to be out there in the fourth quarter down 30-10. I don't know. He's got like shattered ribs, but I mean he wanted to be out there. So like, what was I supposed to do? No, like I'm so out on Brandon Staley. I tweeted this as the Cowboys were wrapping up Monday night. Dan Quinn, head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers in 2023.
Should have been Doug Pederson, as we once said. Once upon a time. Yeah. Okay. I don't really want to get into the Chargers here on the NFC East mixtape.
No, but it's just a sidebar sort of thing. So that is the award. The other award will expire. You'll understand when. But every week, because Survivor is back, we didn't mention that last week, we're going to hand out the immunity necklace for somebody who is void of criticism within the NFC.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Somebody who played so well that they get the immunity necklace for a week. This is individual immunity, not tribal immunity. So, unless we want, actually, we could kind of go like tribal and consider like a position group or something like that. I'm open to your ideas.
It's more fun to do the single person.
Okay. Individual immunity until Survivor's over, which is usually around Christmas time when they start the season at this point. So who deserves the first individual immunity award of the season within the NFC East?
I think I'm between Hurts and Devonte Smith. I mean, Devonte was excellent. Might actually end up being NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I'm not sure if there was someone who I'm missing who would be over him. But yeah, it's either him or Hurts, right? What would you say?
I think it has to be Devonte. I mean, like, and that's not to slight. We've just seen it from Hurts before. Like I don't even think
this was Hurts' best game of the season necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. Like the expectation has risen for Hurts, and so like he wasn't bad by any stretch. Obviously, he was very good, but like we've seen you be great now. So now we expect you to be great week in and week out. So congratulations are in order to Devonte Smith, the first winner of the individual immunity award here on the NFC East mixtape. Do you have any words on behalf of Devonte, Brandon?
I just think that, going back to the offseason, there was a lot of I was excited for Devonte, but also was wondering what his volume would look like in terms of, AJ Brown is here and getting a ton of targets. And Dallas Goedert's still here. I thought he might finish third in targets. He's actually played the most snaps of any Eagles pass catcher in every game this year. So more than AJ Brown. So that's a nice little thing. And obviously, I think it's going to rotate throughout the season in terms of, there's going to be a big Goddard game. There's going to be a big AJ Brown game again. That stuff's going to be, there's going to be some cycling to all of that. But this week, it was Devonte Smith, career game. He looked excellent. And it was nice. It was nice to see that, this nice little reminder that he's a very, very good player.
Let's pick some games. We have 3 across the NFC East this week because we have 2 teams squaring off against one another. We'll start with the most insignificant of them. I thought Daniel Jones looked okay. Like, he looked athletic, but he did not look like a great passer.
No.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, Saquon Barkley has played in 7 games against the Dallas Cowboys, and he has lost all of them. So
although he's looking better now, obviously, he is back to some extent.
I mean, sure, but like this, okay, cool. But like, imagine like if you took somebody with the 2nd overall pick and then lost 7 games in a row with them to one of your top division rivals. Like, that's a really bad look. You know what I mean? I don't care.
Like, what else is a bad look, RJ? This, like, as someone rooting for the Cowboys to lose last night, which, by the way, I hate how this was like a conversation. Like, obviously, the Eagles should be rooting for the Giants to win. Giants are not.
Yeah, you hit me up about this. Yeah,
okay. It's just very frustrating. It's like, it's very straightforward that. Like, it's but like, I don't care about the Giants being undefeated. Still, the losses are going to come. Like, right. They're not good. Anyway, what's done is done. Kenny Galladay now being Mr. complaining, dude. And then having that drop he did at one point in the game. Like, dude, all-time stone cold loser. Like, shut up. Like, you have no right to say anything. Like, you should be voted off the island. Like. Don't play him. Get him out of here.
We should vote someone off every week too. If we're going to hand out an immunity award.
Kenny Galladay off. Total loser. I picked him as my most underrated player. Terrible job by me. He's a freaking stone cold loser, that guy. And Giants need to get rid of him, honestly. Whatever they can get for him, I would take at this point. Like, I know it's like it's bad after they signed him to this big deal, but like, he is not part of the solution and he's a loser. Get him out of there.
Trayvon Diggs caught more passes from Daniel Jones on Monday night than Kenny Galladay. So just worth mentioning. But speaking of the Giants, they will be hosting the Chicago Bears this week. It's a noon kickoff, kind of a blah game. I'm going to pick the Giants. I don't feel great about it, but I just feel that badly. You talked about an L on your behalf with Kenny Galladay. Like, I mean, like, I've taken the L. Like, all right, like, I was wrong about Justin Fields. Okay, we don't have to relitigate this 1,000 times. They're so bad. They're like, I would watch football no matter what, but they make me think about it. You know what I mean? They make me think about not watching it. So I would take the Giants over the Bears. They get to 3-1.
Yeah, I was sharing a stat with you and stats about like how his expected completion percentage was like negative 23.5. He was so like, his expected completion was something like 70, and his actual was whatever 40, whatever the math is there. Like, Justin Fields sucks, man. He is terrible. Maybe he puts it together in the future one day. But like right now, and I don't buy that, by the way, I'm not certainly counting on that. But right now, like unequivocally, he freaking sucks. He's the worst player. He's the worst starter in the NFL. He is. Like, he is that bad. They can't even
Cooper Rush or Justin Fields.
Huh?
Cooper Rush or Justin Fields.
I mean, if you're talking about, am I trying to win a game today? I'm taking Cooper Rush.
Yeah. Like, that's the point. Like, you got to start a game today. Yeah.
Anyone. I'm taking anyone over him, basically.
Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz.
Yes, because he is terrible. He can't even pass the ball. Like, they don't even trust him to throw the football. It's like It's literally Tim Tebow levels of not trusting him to throw the football. Like, he is terrible. So yes, I will take the Giants to win.
All right. You took the Giants to win against not the Titans. Who'd they beat in week 2? I already forgot. Goodness gracious. Who did the Giants beat in week 2? The Panthers. Oh my gosh, we're the only person who took the Giants to beat the Panthers. Giants get a little bit more popular. I guess we'll save the all NFC East game. Eagles, Jaguars, we already kind of touched on it. Doug Pederson, not just Doug Pederson, this game's in Philly for anyone who didn't know. So Doug Pederson coaching as the visiting head coach in a stadium that he has a statue of himself built outside. That was a really weird way to put that sentence together. You said the line is 7. I will definitely take the points no matter what.
Let's see if that's shifted. But yes, it opened at 7.
As Zeke Elliott, by the way, just tweets out Cooper clutch. Wow,
really needed to bring that up. It's since shifted down to 6.5.
I'll still take the points, but I think the Eagles win But this is one of the roadblocks, right? Like if they, I mean, I'm not trying to be like, oh no, the Eagles are in trouble. But if they get through this next 3 weeks, this is a very different 3 weeks than the last 3 weeks. Jaguars at Arizona, like we've kind of talked about, sneaky tough place to play in the right circumstances. And then obviously Dallas. But I'll take the Eagles to win, but I'll take the points.
Same. Yeah, I'll stick on that. It's just a lot of points, man. 6.5 is a lot. And I think there's absolutely going to be like, do you remember the video that the Jags tweeted after they blew out the Colts? Like, I don't know if you saw that, but they tweeted that out. And players like love Dougie P. They gave him the game ball. Like everyone's like, yeah, and they're jumping around in the locker room. Like the Jags players are going to want to get this win for him. They're going to want to make it a game. Like I think that's absolutely a real factor. And it's not like where with Carson Wentz, there may have been some guys are still buddy with him, and you saw that like pregame. Fletcher Cox and other guys were like hanging out with him. But I'm sure there's some guys there and like, as we always say, more than one thing can be true. They're like, I want to stick it to this guy who won it out and like thought he was too good and wasn't the best teammate. That's not the case with Doug. Like no one is feeling like we have to show
nobody like hates him, right?
Yeah, like what did he do? He wanted to stay and they fired him. So I definitely don't think it's like a revenge game from the Eagles side of it at all. So yeah, same thing. I'll take the Jags to cover. I think it's gonna be a close game, but the Eagles will pull it out.
I actually think this is a revenge game the reverse way. Like if there's one L that Howie Roseman has taken recently, it was firing Doug Pederson, right? You know, that's kind of the one thing that
hard
I think
to say it's an L, but
you can look back and be like, that was the one thing. It's like, dude, Howie, you should have chilled out a little bit more. You know what I mean? Whereas like the Wentz thing, you're right. Like I hate to use the word momentum, but like all the momentum was like drag him, like he sucks, like he bad talked us, whatever. Where it's like now it's like, oh, dude, like this guy might have been right. You know, like like that's the like real struggle here for me. I will say. I wanted to say this on the mixtape. I didn't want to tweet it out because I wanted the Eagles audience to hear it on BGN Radio.
Exclusive content here.
I have been critical of Jason Kelce in the past. I think he would be so awesome to root for if I was an Eagles fan. Like he must be like a dream player to root for because he like embraces everything. I thought it was so cool. Honestly, you mentioned the like Wentz bad blood, how he swapped jerseys with him. Like I can't imagine there was a long list of dudes or a long line of dudes waiting to do that. But like, I think that's really cool for Jason Kelce, even if he only did that for Carson's benefit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if he was like, hey, man, Carson's like at the lunch table by himself. Like, no one.
They were tight.
With. But still, like, it would be very easy for Kelce to like stick with the mob and hate Carson. You know what I mean? The way everybody else is. I thought that was a really high character thing for him. I don't want to read too much into it, but so shout out to Jason Kelce. Not immunity idol status, but still good moment for him.
I haven't watched Kelce's podcast with his brother Travis, but it seems very good funny. From the clips I've seen. Yeah,
maybe they join us on the mixtape. Who knows? Oh, you know what? It's like an NFC Easter and an AFC Wester. They have that like silly little mixtape here at SB Nation. But anyway,
no one knows about that one.
The Cowboys hosting the Commanders Sunday afternoon. Noon kickoff, first noon kickoff of the season for the Cowboys. They opened as 3-point favorites. That was earlier today. I'm double checking to make sure that it has not changed. It is 3 points still at Dallas.
Okay. It's the game's in where do you say
AT&T Stadium, baby.
Okay. I mean, what did I just say about the Cowboys going up against the Giants? Like, what did I say about that? It was about the pass rush. Well, how can you possibly feel good about Washington's offensive line, which, they were kind of in a tough spot. They lost Chase Roulier. That's not ideal. And in addition to that, Sam Cosmi, the right tackle, got banged up in the Eagles game. Like they don't have the juice right now up front, and that's going to be a big problem. And what did I say about Carson Wentz, baby? I was like, you can set your watch to him fumbling. He's absolutely going to fumble at some point. And sure enough, he did it twice at 69 times. Not so nice now in 88 career games. So why would I possibly put any faith in Washington to hold up in that regard? It's not even about just Carson Wentz. Watch this. Try this one on for size. I think Carson Wentz didn't get the most help he could have gotten against the Eagles. There were some like high leverage drops, like third down, like key plays. Terry McLaurin had a ball go through his hands. Jahan Dotson dropped the pass. I think that would have set up like first and goal. And the offensive line was obviously bad in a lot of ways. Now, of course, Carson Wentz bears responsibility for a number of those sacks. And he's also very bad when it comes to pocket presence. So I'm not trying to take away blame from him at all. He was really bad. But I just don't see how he's going to get any help here moving forward. And I will take the Cowboys pass rush over Washington. And
so you're taking Cowboys -3, though? You're giving the points?
Easily, yeah.
Interesting that you would easily get the points when you took the points for the Commanders against the Eagles last week.
Well, I mean, I didn't know Washington's offensive line and was going to be this bad. It's terrible right now.
Interesting. I would take the Cowboys and give the points. So I think we'll have then, by our prediction, a 4-0 team next week and 2 3-1 teams. Who would have thought? The NFC Beast is back.
The Beast. You know why they call it that? Because it's like really good.
Oh, nice. Anything else you want to say before we leave? Anything else?
What, September 27th? So just a little bit over a month from Halloween. Big fall guy over here. You know, I like my baked ribs. Among other things. But yeah, looking forward to the fall, Halloween, all that good stuff. Birthday's coming up. Your birthday's coming up too, right?
Yeah, you're the 18th, right?
I mean, yeah, we don't have to dox myself here, but yeah.
I mean,
sure.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, all right, look, people want to tweet you happy birthday. That's all.
Yeah,
we're
that's
we're
cool.
not giving out your social, so
not yet, at least. No. That's the next Eagles Cowboys bet.
We almost gave something away, by the way, a few episodes ago. That was completely Brandon's fault. So
we do have to come up with an Eagles Cowboys bet, but maybe we should let some people make some suggestions ahead of that.
Yeah, we have enough time. We have a few weeks, to your point. So on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon Gowton, on Twitter and Instagram at RJ Ochoa. You got a lot of homework, people. All right, tell us who the non-NFC East person should be next week. Tell us who should win the immunity idol next week within the NFC East. That's exclusive to the NFC East. And then tell us what we should do as far as Cowboys Eagles bets, and what's going to happen. So, Brandon, as we leave, tell us something nice about New York.
No, I don't want to do that. Definitely not.
Okay, tell us something nice about. Tell us.
There isn't anything nice about New York.
Name 3 random states.
They've got pizza. Random states. Okay, we used to do this. Remember, we were trying to come up with like state of the week at one point.
Yeah.
3 random states. I'm gonna go with Alaska.
It's not random. That was super low hanging fruit.
What are you talking about? How's that not random?
It's at the beginning of the order alphabetically, and it's off on its own. It's low hanging. It's literally low hanging fruit.
Alaska. No,
so that's one.
Alabama would be ahead of it, right?
It would be, but I said it's near the beginning of the order alphabetically. No.
All right. Well, then forget Alaska for whatever reason. I'm going to go Wisconsin. Is that random enough for you?
Yeah, that's good.
I'll go Rhode Island.
Really also cliche for your
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with you?
Also, I need a random state. Let me come up with the smallest one. Oh, yeah, Rhode Island. It's random.
All right. Wisconsin. I'm going to go New Mexico. And I'm going to go with New Hampshire.
That's a truly random state. Well done.